Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down the powerful and honestly surprisingly simple ideas from James Clear's huge bestseller, Atomic Habits. It's all about how these tiny, little changes can lead to some truly remarkable results.
Okay, so let's just dive right in with a story that really sets the stage. You see, for pretty much 100 years, the British professional cycling team was, well, they were kind of the definition of average, mediocre at best. In fact, they were so unremarkable that one top bike manufacturer actually refused to sell them bikes because they were worried it would hurt their brand. Ouch.
But then, everything changed. In this incredible 10-year span, British cyclists won 178 world championships. They set a bunch of world records, and get this, they won the Tour de France 5 times. So how on earth did they go from being a total afterthought to a global powerhouse? Well, it all came down to focusing on tiny 1% improvements.
And that incredible turnaround, it perfectly illustrates the core idea of the book, the amazing power of compounding marginal gains. You know, it's so easy to think that if you want some huge result, you need to make some huge, dramatic change. But what Clear argues is that it's the small, consistent habits that really make the biggest difference over time.
And that's exactly what James Clear means by an atomic habit. It's not just a small habit. It's like a fundamental building block. It's that single tiny unit that, when you combine it with others, creates this incredible system for success.
I love this quote because it captures the idea of a breakthrough so perfectly. It's so tempting to look at that final blow, the one that splits the rock, and think, wow, that's what did it. But that's not the whole story, is it? It was all those other hits, the ones that looked like they did nothing, that did all the real work. Progress isn't always visible right away.
So the big question is, how do we actually build these habits? Well, the first of Clear's 4 laws of behavior change is to make the cues for your good habits totally unmissable. You got to make them obvious.
Okay, this is wild. Our brains are basically prediction machines. They pick up on these tiny little cues in our environment without us even realizing it. Take this paramedic, for instance. She had seen the subtle facial pattern of a heart attack so many times that her brain just instantly spotted the danger, even before she could consciously explain why.
And check this out. This is the same idea, but on a bigger scale. By simply redesigning their cafeteria to make water the more obvious choice, a hospital completely changed what people drank. And they did it without ever saying a word about health or nutrition. Think about that. They didn't change the people, they changed the room.
Okay, we're jumping ahead to the 3rd law because this one is a huge one. Make it easy. Look, it's just human nature to save energy. We're all kind of wired to take the path of least resistance. So if you want to build a good habit, you have to make it ridiculously easy to get started.
To really get this, there's this awesome experiment from a photography class at the University of Florida. The professor, Jerry Uelsman, he split his students into 2 groups, and he gave them really different grading rules.
So, at the end of the term, guess what happened? All the best photos, the truly stunning ones, they came from the group that was graded on quantity. While the quality group was busy getting stuck, theorizing about what makes a perfect picture, the quantity group was out there just taking hundreds of photos, learning from their mistakes, and actually getting better. They won because they made it easy to just start doing the work. Okay, so for a habit to really truly stick, your brain needs to feel good about it, like right away. We are just wired to want instant rewards over delayed ones, and that brings us to the 4th and final law. You have to make it satisfying.
Here's a brilliant, simple example of this in action, the paperclip strategy. A young stockbroker, for every single sales call he made, would just move one paperclip from a full jar to an empty one. Click, another one. Click. Each clip was this tiny, satisfying signal of progress. It was a physical representation of his effort, and it made a repetitive task feel rewarding, which kept him going day after day.
All right, so now that we have the 4 laws, there's kind of one last piece to the whole puzzle. You've got to pick the right habits to build in the first place. To really maximize your success, you need to line up your habits with your natural talents. In other words, you got to play a game you can actually win.
Just take a look at these 2 Olympic champions, swimmer Michael Phelps and runner Hicham El Guerrouj. Phelps's super long torso is just perfect for swimming. El Guerrouj's long legs are absolutely ideal for running. They didn't just outwork everybody, their good habits were amplified because their bodies were literally built for their sports. They were playing in the right arena for them.
So this brings up a really powerful question you need to ask yourself. What feels like fun to you, but feels like work to other people? See,
The right game for you isn't always the one you love every single second. It's the one where you can handle the hard parts more easily than most people can.
And that's really the big takeaway here, you know? Mastery and self-improvement. It isn't about having this rigid, unbreakable willpower. It's about being consistent, making small, smart changes, and building systems that work with your human nature, not against it.
So, if building your learning habit is one of your goals, you can apply these same principles right now. Make it obvious, make it easy, and make it satisfying. A tiny 1% improvement you can make is to just like this explainer and hit subscribe. That way, more clear, helpful content like this just shows up in your feed. Easy, right?
All right, let's make this satisfying for all of us. Join the conversation and comment below with just one atomic habit you're thinking about starting. It's a great way to create a little bit of accountability. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next explainer.